Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whatever the I Want podcast, where I, your host, Gabby, get to talk about whatever the I want. And today's episode is going to be kind of a quickie, a quickie that is not too fast, not too slow either, it's just at the right pace. And yeah, it's literally just going to be a yap session. So let's see what we yap about today. So I am actually home for a couple weeks and it's Sunday, literally the night before this episode's supposed to be released. And I had been contemplating a lot, like, do I film an episode? Do I now just have a vacation for myself? I'm kind of just like going with the flow. And I was telling myself, like, okay, do I have enough energy in me to film? And I was at the beach all day. And then a family member had car troubles, and then that ended up taking way longer than expected. And I actually have my nieces here staying the night. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what I can with what I have. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm showing up because I still have that 30% for myself that I just feel like I can do this. And there was a point within the past couple weeks that I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm not saying like the podcast or anything, like I'm quitting on you all. That's not happening. But I just felt like very, I don't know, just like overstimulated, like just exhausted. I mean, there's quite a bit of words that could describe the way I was feeling. Stuck. I don't know. I just kind of felt like I was hitting a roadblock. And I definitely feel like, even with the artist way, I've been kind of slacking on my morning pages. Like, I didn't do anything yesterday because I was traveling. I did sketch, but like, I didn't do my morning pages. I didn't do them today. And so I guess some part of me feels like I'm just like falling off of my routine, which I have been. But I do feel like a lot of that is because I've needed to prove something to myself. And so I think that applies to anything in life. If you're going to prove something to somebody, let it be yourself. And so when I moved to Miami, I had to prove something at that point. It felt like not just to myself, but to like my family and to the people around me. Like, oh, I can do whatever I want. And then it reached a point where whenever I moved to Chicago, it was like, okay, I just need to like figure it out on my own. I've kind of just felt like I've needed to just do things on my own. And I don't necessarily know who I've been trying to like prove wrong. I do think psychologically it's probably been family. Like I remember after I moved, one of my tios was like, so what happened? You don't like us anymore? And I'm like, that's not literally why I moved at all. Like, I love my family and they know that I do. But it's also just like, damn, like, you really feel that way? Why are you saying that? You not like the family? Are you projecting? But I was talking to my sister yesterday. I stayed the night with her. She picked me up from the airport. And I was like, just talking to her about like, she's like, how's life? Like, what's going on? Whatever. And I was like, some part of me is open to moving back to Florida. And she was like, really? Really? Like, I never would have thought you would have said that. And I don't see myself moving back here permanently. That's not something I see happening unless it were to be like, unless I were to have kids, because advice from my cousins has always been like, you have to raise your kids around family. That way you have that support. So for me, I think I've definitely absorbed that advice, and I do think that you do need a community around you in order to raise your kids. But even my sister was talking about marriage and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm not at a point where I'm 100% sure about one, getting married, two, who I want to get married to. Like, that's just not on my mind right now. I guess that's more so of what it is. It's like marriage is not on my mind. I'm not thinking about a wedding. I'm not thinking, none of that is like something that sounds appealing to me right now. I am just so focused on myself that everything else will fall into place, the more that I explore this avenue right now, like, and obviously I have pressure around me from, some family, not like my parents or anything. My parents have never pressured me to have kids or to get married or anything like that. But more so like my grandma. I had a conversation with her a couple weeks ago, and she was like, actually, no, it might have been last week. She was like, chismeando. She was chismeando about somebody. And she was like, oh, pues, tienes que tener hijos más pronto porque no quieres mirarte bien vieja. Y no quieres que te confunden como la abuela en vez de la mamá. And I was like, oh, fuck. So for those who don't know, it's basically like my grandma was telling me how I need to have kids soon, because or else they're going to confuse me for being the child's grandmother and not their mom. And I'm like, girl. And then I was telling her, like, because I'm one to argue, like, and maybe not say like that, but like, I want to push back. If you have an opinion, I'm going to push back on it. And so I told her, I was like, I disagree with that. I was like, a lot of it just comes down to like how you take care of yourself. Like, you don't have to look old and washed up unless you choose that, like that is something that people actively choose. So even if it's like their daily habits, if you're smoking cigarettes multiple times a day for 30 years and then your body has it affects your body, like, okay, then that should be something that you're worrying about. But I'm not sitting here worried about aging when I don't care about that. But like, two, it's like, but I know that I'm not doing anything. I know that I don't have any like really like bad habits. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously there's moments where I scroll a little bit too much than I would like, but I'm not like glued to my phone. I'm not, um, I don't drink. I, smoke weed occasionally, but I don't feel like I am addicted to it. I do it now at this point probably once every 2 weeks, which isn't a lot. But I don't know, maybe future Gabby in like 5 years from now is like, oh my gosh, that is a lot, because, you change throughout life. And even my mom was talking about that because she goes between like coffee shops that she likes and, the types of coffee she drinks. And, now she's drinking espresso shots. She didn't ever used to do that. And she said today, like, I change. And, I change opinions and things about me change. And I resonated with that a lot because even seeing her now at her age, which actually when this episode airs, it'll be her birthday. My little Gemini queen, lots of Geminis in my family. Change is inevitable. Change is going to happen. Change is a part of life, and change should be encouraged. I think that, my sister was talking to me about, how at one point, whenever she shaved her head and how she dyed her hair, and, I went through that phase as well, not entirely shaving my head, but I had a pixie haircut and I dyed my hair a lot of colors and things like that. And I told her, she's like, what was I going through? And I'm like, I don't necessarily see it from that perspective. I see it as you were exploring yourself. I think that's what a lot of it is you need to date yourself and explore. Do you like this? Do you like that? I'm not a fan of cycling, but I've tried it. Would I go again? Yeah. I think now I'm at a point where if I get invited to go to something, I have like the energy to go, I'll go. Like even one of my friends, he was like trying to kind of push church on me, which now his opinion on that has entirely changed, which is so crazy. This all happened within like the past day. He was like, oh, church this, church that, like you should go to church more, blah, blah. And I was like, listen, I'm at the point where it's like, if you invite me and I have the energy to go, I'll go. But like, I'm not going out of my way to go to church. So like I go like if family invites me or if people invite me. And I think the same thing applies to anything. Like if I were to get invited to go rock climbing, to go try, I don't know, a new restaurant or something like that. Like I'm definitely open to to doing things. And, I've been cycling before. I wasn't really a fan of it, but I think I'm still open to the fact, like, I would try again. Like, I would try again or go like every once in a while if somebody were to invite me. But I know that it's not who I am as a person. But I think it's okay to explore and to date yourself. Like, my mom today was like, "Oh, like, are you thinking about cutting your hair?" And I'm like, kind of, but not really. Like, um, she's like, "I really liked your short hair," and I'm like, I see that, I hear that, but it's like, if I don't want to do that right now, I'm not going to do that. And I think that there's so much power in knowing who you are and in doing things at your own pace. And I think, like today, I also got asked by somebody, "What do you think of my partner?" And I, I might have come off a little bit rude, but I was like, "Listen, I, I don't care. Like, I don't care if y'all end up together. I don't care if y'all get married." And I'm like, and maybe saying I don't care is not the right way to phrase it, but I'm like, I'm here for you. You're in my life and I love you for you. And who you're with means zero to me. What matters to me is, are you happy? And only you can decide that for yourself. And it just feels so nice to be at a point in life where you're just like, I don't care. Okay, so this is what so and so is doing. Well, that's good. But like, I guess it just sounds rough by saying like, I don't care. But it's not that I don't care about that person or that scenario. It's that I am just so focused on myself that I don't put people or situations or things above me. Now, like for example, today at the beach, I was like, "Oh, I'll film out the beach or whatever." But I told my sister, she's like, "Oh, you could have filmed this morning or this or that." And I was like, well, one thing is I try to film intuitively. I think that forcing myself to film, even when I don't want to, just doesn't feel right for me. It just doesn't feel right for me to like, it almost feels like putting on a face, like, and that was what a lot of social media was at some point, right? Like you were putting on a face. Like it didn't matter what you were trying on. Everything was cute. Everything was nice. You didn't have anything bad to say about a brand. And now I'm at a point where it's like, I'm going to be honest. I like this. I don't like this. And I think there was like a small point in time where I was still kind of like being like that. At some point, I couldn't even tell you when, but probably within the past year. Where I'd like try a protein bar and I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. And then after you finish like filming, you're like, oh, was it that good? Like, because the camera was on me, like, was it that good? Or like, how did you really feel about it? And for me, it's also hard because like with food, like sometimes you got to try it multiple times, or maybe it's just a bad day, or maybe you just develop a palate for it. So maybe that's not the best example. But I truly feel like I'm just at a place where I'm just so focused on myself that it just feels liberating to not care about what people think about you. I used to film so much and not post because I was so afraid to be seen. I was so afraid to see, I guess, what people had to say about my life, to hear their opinions and their thoughts because they held so much weight in my life. But it feels so free to be at a point where it's like, and you know what? If they have that to say about me, I don't care. I don't care if you like my partner. I don't care if you like what I do, if you don't like what I do. I don't care. Like what matters is that I'm showing up for myself and this feels right for me and this feels like what I should be doing. And I know that it's only helping people, even if it's like an escape for 20, 30 minutes, twice a week, or if it's, maybe there's somebody out here who's watching who doesn't have an older sibling. And so this is their way to get advice or like to learn about life. And so I just feel like I don't put as much emphasis or value on other people's opinions. What matters is my own opinion about myself. And I love myself. Like I truly do. And it feels really, really nice to love yourself. So let today be the day that you spend more time focusing on who you are and who you want to be and to take the steps towards completing your goals. I used to, hear that like start small, start small, start small. And you're like, no, I need a new camera. I need new this. I need better equipment. And then I'll start. And it's like, no, girl. If you're not posting your little TikToks without a microphone, you sure as hell aren't going to be posting them with one. Like, it's about getting over that fear. And I think I've definitely gotten over that fear. And oh my gosh, it just feels so good. It feels so good to just post and be like, well, this is who I am. This is who I am. And I love myself. And it doesn't matter what you say or think about me. What matters is what I think about myself. I hear my nieces. They're giggling so bad. So actually, change of plans. My nieces, we don't know if we have permission for them to be on a podcast episode. So they're, like I said, they're staying the night. So I'm just going to have them ask me questions and then I'll answer them.
How long have you been doing podcasts?
Okay, so I started podcasting January of this year. So it's been like 6 months that I've been doing podcasts for.
Do you like Chicago better or Florida?
Oh, that's actually a really good question. I say this with all the love in my heart, Chicago, but Florida will always be my home. Florida will always be my home. They're like, stop. Well, that is it for the questions round today. They are now being shy. I think I was just talking about life and things like that. But yeah, it's really important to follow your dreams and to be confident in who you are, because over time, people's opinions just start to mean more to you. For a very long time, I put my mom and dad's opinions about me, about my relationships, about my life above my own. And it just felt like I was people pleasing, like I had to do things to make them happy, but it was at the expense of myself. So I was neglecting my needs and my wants for them. So regardless of what your life circumstances or whatever your life situation looks like, understand that your life is yours to live. And it doesn't matter if somebody doesn't think that you can't be an artist or you can't be an astronaut or if you can't be anything. Like, you literally can be anything that you want to be. And it doesn't matter what people say, and you should be proving yourself right versus proving other people right or wrong. And I think that was like a switch in perspective that happened to me. For a long time, it felt like I had to prove other people right or wrong, but in reality, I needed to just prove things to myself. So like, that's why I did 75 Hard, was to prove to myself that I could post on social media every day for 75 days, as well as like a lot of other fitness things. I go to the gym anywhere from like 5 to 7 times a week. Lately, it's been more towards 5. And I think for a long time, it was I had to prove to myself that I could do it. And so like, even in terms of the podcast, posting twice a week, it was just to prove that I could do it. And so I think for season 2, I will be posting once a week, but I will be prioritizing other content as well. And it's just because I needed to prove to myself that I could post twice a week, that I could do this, that this was real. And so prove to yourself that you can do things rather than proving to other people that you can or can't. And I think that's it for my rant for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you to my nieces for their little questions. If we get permission from their parents, I will be home for the next 2 weeks. So then if all goes well, they will be joining us for an episode. That is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.